Glenn?
All right, everybody, we'll get going with Coach Schumann first. If he wants, he can do a brief opening statement, and then we'll take some questions.
Yeah, just briefly, an honor to be in this game, one of the greatest games in all football. Notre Dame, a lot of respect for the way their programs run, the way their team plays. They're fast, they play with great effort, physical, really just the brand of football they play, a lot of respect for it on all sides of the ball, but especially on offense. They've been getting better throughout the entire season, and it's going to be a great challenge.
All right, we'll open up for questions. Mike Griffin.
Coach, is their offense similar to yours in terms of their personality and what they do?
They're really balanced. I think if you said there's a similarity, there's a pro-style demeanor to it. They run the ball, they're good up front, lots of good backs, size across the board, play action passing game, RPO flair in there, so there's similarities.
Yeah, Jalon Walker won the Butkus Award this year as a guy who took a little bit of a different developmental path than, say, Roquan Smith and Nakobe Dean. How proud are you of him to sort of see that recognition and accomplishment? What has it meant to coach Jalon Walker here?
I mean, he's an unbelievable person, and I think when you're in the coaching profession, it's about helping people achieve their dreams, whether that's at the high school level, college level, professional level, and that was something that was really important to him. I think it influenced why he came here because of seeing the results in the past and the ability to do that here and develop as a complete player, and just really happy for him and his family because that's something that means a lot to them and any linebacker.
Yeah, Glenn, as far as the secondary goes, just what have been your thoughts on the play of that group throughout the year as things have progressed throughout the season?
I think there's been up and downs. There's been times that we got to get the ball down more. Obviously, you're judged based on how you play the ball down the field at that position. And then, you're the erasers in terms of tackling. So when mistakes show up there, like they're more glaring than maybe if a 3 technique makes a mistake on a play or if a backer misfits something, unless it's egregious. I think that they're a group that has continued throughout this, bowl process, playoff process to work really hard and challenge themselves to get better in the areas that they need to. We've got to do a better job down the field, and there's been moments where we have, and there's moments where we come up short, and I think that group has grown a lot throughout the course of the year. There's still guys that may be older, but they hadn't played as much, and now they've gained a lot of experience, and that's a position that you only play well by gaining real game experience, and that's why you see a guy like Dan Jackson who's played a lot of football, playing his best football right now because of the experience he's gained, the confidence he's gained in that way.
Coach Riley Leonard is another one of these quarterbacks who extend plays with his legs, make things happen in that regard. Y'all played a few of those types of quarterbacks this year. What's going to be the key to kind of containing him and be successful against his game?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is that Riley Leonard is a passer. Not to say that the other quarterbacks that are mobile have not been, but he's probably passing it the most efficiently that he has. His last game was one of his best games throwing the football, being accurate. I think one of the big things that happens with a quarterback who is mobile is that when he extends plays, it places a lot of stress on the second and third level in terms of matching routes on the scrambles. Those are some of his best throws. Guys come open that way, and that's one of the biggest challenges is not just, the ability for the rush to keep him in the trap and to make him make throws from the pocket and make him uncomfortable, but also, on the back end when he does extend plays, because it will inevitably happen. That's why, people want mobile quarterbacks. When he extends plays, on the back end, continuing to match your patterns and finish on the balls down the field, because you see like against Texas, there's a scramble play that gets extended and it ends up being a 50-50 ball down the field that we don't make the play on it. And that's a stress that people miss that sometimes. Think about the rushing yards. Mm-hmm. It's the stress it puts on the secondary when he does extend plays.
Glenn, on a 30,000-foot low on how this defense has done this year, obviously if you look at the raw numbers, yards per play and scoring defense, it's lower than some Georgia defenses have been recently. Some of it's the schedule. You've played some better offenses, but then obviously there's been some things like the UMass game. How do you rate how your defense has done, and do you put any finger on why there's been some inconsistency in performances when it has shown in games like Texas and Clemson that it can play at such an elite level?
I think you hit the nail on the head at the end. Is to meet the standard and expectation of what we have to play in defense at Georgia, you have to be consistent, because if you're inconsistent, then you're going to have ebbs and flows, and that can be whether it's in coverage, tackling, execution, how you fit runs. And I think this group has shown that when we're at our best, that we can be really good, and that when we don't, execute consistently, tackle consistently, leverage the football the right way, maybe I cover down the right way, those type of things, that we've given up too many explosive plays in that regard. I think minimizing, for us, when we minimize explosive plays, we play really well. And, there's a lot of factors that go into that. And, I think that the better we tackle, the better we play the ball down the field, the better we execute, that brings that consistency. And that's what we need moving forward. And when we're consistent, we're pretty good. And when we're not, then there's been some times where yards have been gained or points have been given up. And, you can't have an approach of people saying, "Oh, my bad, I'll get them next time." That doesn't exist in football. One play changes the game. And so I think just attacking the consistency piece, there's no exact, if I had the exact answer to that, if we had the exact answer to that, then you'd solve it. It hasn't been one thing all year, and game to game it's been a little bit different. But I think when we're at our best, we're pretty good, and we just gotta be consistent moving forward, tackling, coverage, all those areas.
Can I ask a follow-up? Yeah. You talk about explosive plays, so much of it is like, bend but don't break. You guys were so strong in the red area against Texas. Is that kind of what you're getting at? And I think a lot of people have been used to Georgia. They think in their mind like a shutdown, force a 3 and out all the time. But is a bend but don't break, is that, a more productive strategy, especially in today's football?
I mean, the goal every time you take the field is a 3 and out or a takeaway. So I wouldn't say that's a strategy, bend but don't break. That's just something that's happened. I think we've done a really good job that when we've given up an explosive, for the most part, we've managed to shut things down. When we haven't and the drive extended, that's when the points have shown up. I credit to our guys that when we did give up plays in the last game, and a lot of games this year, we've shown up in the red zone, and we have to tighten up and make the plays that are necessary. Obviously don't want them to get down there at all.
You've obviously seen Gunner Stockton a lot in practice over the last 3 years. Just from a coordinator's perspective, what are the challenges a quarterback like he presents?
Well, Gunner, speak about the athleticism, the ability to move in the pocket, extend plays. He makes you, defend the entire field, and he makes you play honest on defense. You have to account for him on any given play, and it opens up a lot of, those plays we're talking about with Riley Leonard, where he extends plays and is able to throw the ball down the field that way. He does that. You have to account for him in your rush when you're playing certain coverages, and that's a big part of playing quarterback nowadays, making the defense play honest. And I think that's the biggest thing about Gunner. He's extremely competitive, and he adds a dimension to the offense that y'all saw a little bit of in the past, and we've seen a lot of, over the years.
Glenn, with Gunner making his first start, how much does that accentuate to the defense that you guys need to be on your game even more as he settles into that?
It's championship football, it's playoff football. It's a 1-game season. I think that we have to do, our part in every game. We don't set goals on defense based on what our offense does. We set goals on defense based on, what our standards and expectations are in terms of the points we want to allow, our expectations in terms of rushing defense, third down defense, red zone defense. So I think it's leaning into, you got to focus on doing your job. We spoke on the consistency a second ago. If we execute and we tackle well and leverage the football, we just want to play to the standard of Georgia defense. The rest will sort itself out.
We're going to switch over and take a couple questions from Zoom now.
Charles O of Associated Press, go ahead with your question.
My question was just asked, but thank you.
Okay, next we're going to go to Mikey DeLulu from Louisiana.
Yes, so Coach, what is sort of like the team's mindset, especially on the defensive side of the ball? You mentioned it earlier, just had some pretty high highs. There's also been games like the UMass game, heading into a great offense like Notre Dame. What's the team's mindset heading into that game?
Yeah, you got to do your job. That's at the end of the day, that's the key to playing great defense. Strike blockers up front, tackle well, leverage the football, win your one-on-ones and coverage. Mentality-wise, that's the key to playing good defense in general. And so on our end, we want to be at our best when our best is needed. That's something we start with day one of fall camp, and we address the defense and our expectations for the year, and we talk about being at our best when our best is needed. And when you're in this, setting, your best is needed. So that's the mentality.
Matt Baker of The Athletic. Okay, next we'll go to Bailey Burmaster from Atlanta News First.
Hey Coach, I'm curious, as you guys head to New Orleans, if you get things situated, what kind of leadership are you seeing from guys like Jalon Walker as you get into the brunt of this playoff?
The guys that have led us all year, they've done a great job of demanding the best out of each other. I think that, guys like Jalon, guys like Malachi, Michael, really any of these veteran players that have been around and they know what it takes to be successful in these games. You see them, one, setting the example for the right way to prepare. And, I think that makes it easy for people to follow them. If you can see, if your best players are at their best, the rest of the guys should follow. And everybody knows what we want to do. And I think you have other guys like CJ Allen and guys who've been captains for us, Dan Jackson, Chaz Chambliss. They've been really vocal as well, and they're a focus group.
Yeah, obviously a little bit of a different role this year for Will Muschamp. What sort of impact has he had on this team and this program this year?
Everybody in the building, loves Will Muschamp, and it's been great because he's really followed the same exact schedule, throughout the course of the week that he did last year. Our operation's been the same. I appreciate him for making those sacrifices to still be a part of everything, and that's something he wanted to do. Obviously, there's things in his life and his family that he wanted to step away in some ways, but he's actively, even when he's not here, he's involved in discussions. That's, football is really important to him, and this university is really important to him. So he's been great throughout the entire year, and outside of, Will's a comedian. So outside of occasionally when he's not there, bringing light of some situations, that I would say that's the time that you don't see him the most, because Will can make anybody crack a smile in even the most dire situations.
What kind of development have you seen from KJ playing as big of a role as he has as a freshman?
And that's speaking of the back end, it's a really challenging position. There's so much more beyond, covering people, leveraging the ball, understanding the defense. There's an amount of pressure that goes into that, and there's nothing that can simulate being out there in live games, lights everywhere, cameras, packed stadiums. And I just think his poise and his composure in those moments has grown as he's gained experience. He's obviously a talented, individual, and he's earned the right to be out there. But, he's made some really big plays, and I think he's just a calmer demeanor, which is, nobody gets to Georgia without, being a good football player, right? But the experience that takes you from, nobody gets to Georgia without being a really good athlete. But I think sometimes that confidence, the experience, the game slowing down, people like to say that. As that happens, guys take the next step, and I think throughout the course of the year, the game slowed down a bit for him, and he's made some huge plays for us.
Yeah, let's go. Your position group, the inside linebackers, what have you seen from CJ and Raylen in year two? How has Smael kind of handled his injury? And the freshman Chris Cole has kind of played in some moments as well. What have you seen from that group all year long?
Yeah, I'm really, first and foremost, I'm pleased because they're an incredibly unselfish group. We play different rotations, different packages. They love to see each other succeed. If one of them makes a play, one of the first people to celebrate is his other teammate that's on the field with him, or the guy from his room on the sideline. So I've been really pleased with just their love for each other. You want that to happen. I think that room has a brotherhood to it. Within that, guys have taken advantage of opportunities, and they've all shown up. At different points. Obviously, Jalon receives the accolades that he did. Smael, I'm really proud of, because he's been through a lot these last couple of years, and he's battled back, and I really feel like he's playing his best football here as we go to close, which is what he wanted to do. And it's one of the reasons why he was kind of, shut down there for a little bit. But he's great, and he's practicing as hard as ever. CJ and Raylen have done a great job in their sophomore years, really growing up in a lot of ways, and they've been really vocal. They're great signal callers. They're really serious about how they go about their business. And that stood out when they were freshmen, because they were trying to get on the field, but they haven't become complacent at all once they've been on the field. They're hungrier for more every day. They practice really hard, and guys that practice hard generally play well, and they've continued to get better. Chris took advantage of Smael being out and helping us in a lot of our third down packages, and he's got a lot of ability, just like Justin does. I think that freshman group, Chris Jones has been out, but that freshman group's really mature, and they go about their business the right way, which, like I said earlier, nobody gets here without ability, but especially at that position, maturity is so important, and being a pro at a young age to being able to get on the field because of what's required of that position in terms of making the calls and checks for the defense, whether it's the front or the back end. They've taken pride in that.
Hey Glenn, one more question about Coach Muschamp. I noticed he was on the field for the SEC championship game. Do you know if he'll be so again for the playoffs? And if assuming he is, does he have any kind of expanded role because he's on the sideline?
I'll let in terms of Will's availability, he kind of determines that based on what he has going on. Obviously, on the SEC championship Saturday, he was he didn't have any other obligations, games to be at, things like that. With Vanderbilt being off, he's going to decide how he goes about that, and I hope he's with us. But that's his choice in regards to that. His role, he's been really involved the whole time in all facets of this, whether it's DB play or the defense as a whole. So he continues to be involved on a day-to-day basis, and I would imagine his role to continue to be the same.
Time for one more question.
When you guys started the season, you had 2 healthy interior defensive linemen with any sort of experience, and I know it's been in and out. Michael was hurt. You've lost, all sorts of guys up front. How healthy are you now going in? It seems like you're as healthy as you've been all season now going into this game, and how important is that for you guys to kind of have built all of that depth, but at the same time to have all of that experience at your disposal too?
Yeah, it's great to have guys available, right? I mean, availability is one of the best abilities in football, and so like for coaches and players alike. And so there's strength in numbers. As you have more guys available, I think especially the big guys, you're able to stay fresher. And guys, it's just natural. If you're 300 pounds, you're 280 pounds, the fresher you are, the better you're going to give effort, chase the ball, the better your burst is going to be getting off the ball in pass rush. And, I think it keeps everybody at their peak performance longer. And I'm really proud of those guys who had to play games where we had guys playing 50-plus snaps a game in the interior D-line that their career high had been in the 30s. And so early in the year when guys were banged up, guys rose to the occasion, and all that experience, I think, has helped us in the long run. And if we're healthy, we should be even better.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.